looks like you need a bit of a pick-me-up, dear. Have you, sorted out another appointment yet? You haven't had any. Goodness, no wonder you're not getting any dates. I'm just teasing. But really though, you should do something about the way that you look before you actually come to the party, because I want the photos to be nice. Is that you, Sharon? Goodness, you've let yourself go. Oh my god, have you seen Melissa? She looks like a whole other person. Like, I have to go ask her who's done her work. Oh, dearie, are you tired? You look tired. Hey, come here, can you tell me, can you see my wrinkles yet? Because I think I need a pick-me-up. Before the holiday parties properly start, let's just go together and get it sorted for both of us. Wait, what do you mean you don't want to, like, why not? You could use a bit of fixing. Watch out, Julia, those frown lines are starting to set in. Goodness, what's happened to you? You've really let yourself go. I can't introduce you to Colin looking like this. How do you expect to find a boyfriend if you just keep on letting this happen? Look at those roots. That's disgusting. No. Look, all I'm saying is, if Martha Stewart can be on the cover of Sports Illustrated at the age of 81, you have no excuse. Well, lovelies, we really are at that time of year when it comes to family events again. And you know what that means? Judgment. Isn't it fun? Isn't it joyous? I do tackle a lot of things on this channel, but I really wanted to do a specific series for the festive season, for those awkward family interactions that we often have. And this is stuff that I believe everybody can relatively easily unlearn. So that's why I want to create kind of like a toolkit for you of the things which commonly come up. If we're on about like trying to bridge the gap of like strong political divides, I don't think I'm that much of a miracle worker, okay? I'm on about like stuff that we can unlearn ourselves and hopefully other people can unlearn relatively easily, because oh my gosh, if people can't unlearn this stuff, there is no hope for saying that a ceasefire isn't an anti-Semitic thing to say. Wow. Oh, maybe even me saying that has gotten me shadow banned right now. So why exactly is it that we keep on getting all these judgmental questions when we have these amazing actresses like actually embrace aging? People like Sandra Oh saying, I couldn't give less fluffs. I've obviously censored that because YouTube. Aging is the greatest. It really gives you more space to be that person in the mirrored dress who has always been inside. And do you remember in the Sex and the City movies even, Sarah Jessica Parker, like people were saying how old she looked then? Well, let alone that, but then there's also the relaunch of like the Sex and the City show, like, and just like that. I have a lot of thoughts on Sex and the City, but I think that Brie Deschanel has actually said it better than I ever could, honestly. But what Sarah Jessica Parker said, I know what I look like. I have no choice. What am I going to do about it? Stop aging? Disappear? We also have people like Halle Berry. I see things changing with my face and body, but I've never put all my eggs in that basket. I've always known that beauty is deeper than the physical body you're walking around in. And of course, infamously, last year, Julia Fox came out with this video here.
That says anti-aging on the label. I'm suing. I'm going to sue. I'm going to sue because I'm going to age regardless of if I put the $500 serum on my face, and you all know it and we know it, so let's stop lying to ourselves. Getting old is hot. Okay.
Bearing in mind that Julia Fox was actually in her early 30s at that point. So how is it that we have all of these women not caring, and yet your Aunt Gertrude keeps on asking you invasive and judgmental questions? Your mother is ashamed that you're turning into an old maid and aren't ready to meet any of the weird suitors that she's got set up for you. And even your friends who've been getting Botox since about 25, they think it's a bit judgmental of you with the fact that you aren't joining them with their Botox trips. The aging fear for girls and women has actually gotten to the point where Gen Z are actually doing 3-hour daily routines to make sure that they can preserve their skin as it is when they're like 20 years old, even younger. Like, it's gotten to that point. The thing is that all of these regular everyday people understand that aging as a woman is basically forbidden. All you have to do is follow the money and you can see exactly why this is so deeply entrenched, because the global anti-aging market is valued at $63.01 billion US, and that's in the year of 2022, and it's projected to reach a value of $106.65 billion US by 2030.
Aging gracefully is a myth. Nature is only your friend until you're 25, and then you have to turn to the unnatural. Botox, fillers, and lasers.
I've heard lasers are painful.
Victoria will cover painkilling tomorrow.
Don't miss it, and don't plan on driving home.
People talk about aging gracefully all the time, but what does that actually mean? Let's be real here, aging gracefully means maintaining a slim figure, having an able body which is nimble and agile, have perfectly dyed and styled hair, or alternatively perfectly coiffed white hair, which is wonderfully toned like it's done by a professional stylist every single day, aka looking like Jane Fonda. And most importantly, having taut skin with a few cute crinkles in place. Basically that means no wrinkles here, or here.
But you just pointed to all of me.
Oh, and age spots? That does not belong on a woman unless it's polka dots. And don't you dare talk about the impacts that menopause actually has on the body. No, really, Cheryl, don't you dare. Aging gracefully means a patriarchal beauty standards approved brand of aging. It's conformist and it's placid. It's graceful. It never shows signs of pain or that you are struggling with hot flushes or that your hair texture has changed. It's basically all about not showing any ugliness. And sweetheart, aging is ugliness in women. It is no secret that men view women who are younger to be more attractive, and as women age, they become less attractive according to men, and you can just look at these graphs right here for scale. As the men's age goes up, his attractiveness towards women always remains in their early 20s, whereas when it comes to women, as her age goes up, so does the age of men that she finds attractive. But why is it that we're allowing men to define what is beautiful? Women have been elevated by our worth based on our age because of the patriarchy. And come on, you can't be watching one of my videos without me bringing up the patriarchy or the climate crisis. Often both.
Sweetie, you look tired. Are you tired? Oh, you know what? Maybe it's the way you're wearing your hair now.
You know the innocuous phrase, you look tired, and people say it and they mean, I'm concerned about you so I'm reaching out. But actually what they're really telling you is that you look older and uglier. Actually, science proves this. There was a study conducted in 2010 which showed a correlation between people being sleep deprived and being perceived as less attractive. Apparent tiredness was strongly related to looking less healthy and less attractive, which was also supported by the mediating analysis, indicating that a large part of the found effects and relations on appearing healthy and attractive were mediated by looking tired. So when you tell someone that they look tired, you're actually telling them that they look ugly and old. Let me pitch it to you this way. Have you ever been told, oh, you look tired, and then been like, oh, sweet, thank you for noticing, and actually went about the rest of your day feeling happy? No, nobody has. So maybe just stop that.
Gird your loins!
As women approach middle age, they get seen as less nice according to a series of studies done by Berkeley University. Both men and women are perceived as more capable or effective as they get older, but only women are seen as less warm as they age, causing them to be judged more harshly. I wonder where all of the nagging tropes come from, huh? They did another smaller study where they actually had the same career information on pieces of paper to give out to people, and people were meant to say what they thought their personality types were. The only difference between these two pieces of paper with someone's career history on it was that one was called Steve and the other person was called Sue. You can see where this is going, right? Even with identical descriptions and such little information by which to judge, the participants rated Sue lower on characteristics related to warmth as she aged, while Steve's ratings didn't change. Basically, as women age, they're not worth listening to, they're nags and they're meaner people. No wonder women only make up 8.2% of S&P 500 companies' CEOs. Whilst I do not like most of the S&P 500 companies, it's really important to actually look at this figure because this perception absolutely does impact women in the workplace. That women are less warm as they get older. They get seen as more bitter, more like ruthless and catty, like all of these really, really negative attributes which do not get applied to men in the same way. You know how women are bossy whereas a man is assertive? That absolutely rings true, and studies like this really do show that. And it's this bias towards women specifically as they age. So not only are women disadvantaged when it comes to their romantic relationships, when it comes to the judgment they receive from their family members, from their friends, but this also impacts their working life. So I really just want to show you just how impactful this perception really is. Does anybody actually look forward to aging when you see those sorts of depictions? The only positive that I can really find is Golden Girls. And that was in the 80s.
Blanche, honey, aren't you forgetting something?
Oh no, I never wear underwear.
Justine Bateman was in the show Family Ties in the 1980s. And she came under severe media scrutiny for the fact that she, quote, let herself go and got old.
I had Googled my name and there was an autocomplete that said Justine Bateman looks old. And I was like 40, 41 at the time. And I was like, really? And then I went into this rabbit hole where I read all these things that people were saying. It affected me more than I thought it would, and for a longer period of time than I thought it would.
But she retaliates by saying, I just don't give a shit. I think I look rad. I think my face represents who I am. I like it. Botox, filler, facelifts, and the perpetual fixation on youth, not just now, but also historically, has been something women in particular have been shamed into feeling that they need to work on. And the thing is that people like Justine were tempted too. I feel like I would erase not only all my authority that I have now, but also I like feeling that I am a different person now than I was when I was 20. I like looking in the mirror and seeing the evidence. I don't think it's natural to tell women that they should get their faces fixed. That's the bottom line. She felt fine about herself until all the criticism came out in the tabloids, until people started telling her that she looked haggard. A study was conducted on 79 women in a clinical setting to evaluate the impact of insults on the brain, due to, like the ethical issues of actually doing that in person. Psychological studies haven't always been conducted in the most ethical ways, to put it very lightly. In this study, they found that hearing insults is like receiving a mini slap to the face. Regardless of the precise context the insult is made in, it's no surprise because insults pose a threat against our reputation and against our, quote, self. They provide a unique opportunity to research the interface between language and emotion. More research does need to be done here to understand the long-term impacts of insults. However, the research found that even if the insult was about another person, it affected people negatively. Now, you may be saying that observing that someone looks old isn't actually an insult. In a world where women are valued mostly for their youth and beauty, yeah, it is actually an insult.
Oh my God, Grace, don't panic. But you're old. Your roots are showing.
Yeah, Frankie, that's what happens when you stop dyeing your hair.
How Frankie Bergstein of you. You are Grace Hansen, are you not?
Yeah, that's exactly the point. This is who I really am.
Since when?
Since I stopped letting the color of my hair dictate how young or old I feel.
So, no more facelifts either?
TBD.
And if people have had procedures done, heck, I am not judging you. I've made this whole video here talking about this. But when people have plastic surgery done and it's, quote, botched because, the technology wasn't as amazing back then, the surgical techniques weren't as amazing back then. Look at people like Madonna, for example. Look at Piers Morgan's reaction to seeing her in about 2015.
The fact is, she's done stuff to her face surgically, which means when she goes out now, we all shriek in horror.
I think it's quite rude to say that you shriek in horror.
I literally did. She's a walking, talking train wreck.
How can you say that?
Because she is, clearly.
There's nothing train wreck about that. She's just expressing herself.
Utterly embarrassing. 58-year-old
Why does age have anything to do with it?
And Madonna, who used to be a sex icon in the 1980s, is now viewed to be a vile person because she's not acting age appropriate, which is another video I'm going to be coming out with for this series. But also just the fact that she dares to exist as an older woman actually on stage. What I'm calling out is the pressure to actually have all these procedures and the praise for falling to that pressure, which keeps the cycle going. But then you have people like Jane Fonda who have spoken up about the fact that she regrets her facelift, but she has had repeated cosmetic surgeries done over the years, and even her co-star, in my opinion, has had surgeries done as well, because looking at the change in their faces during the filming of Grace and Frankie alone, their faces did change a lot. It's so hard, especially to be a star in Hollywood and not succumb to the pressures of anti-aging as a woman, because you become, I don't know, what is it, irrelevant and invisible if you reach over the age of 40.
You kind of had a rule where you didn't want to play a witch, right?
Well, yes, only because when I turned 40, I got 3 different witch scripts in 1 year, and I thought, oh, okay. Honestly, the idea of witches, I think it's terror of older women, that has lived in many different cultures.
So I fully understand it. I'm hopeful that all of the actresses I named earlier, they actually won't fall prey to this.
The bill is dead, the corpses are doomed, and democracy is over. Oh my God, I can't believe I decided to get a perm.
And there's also this wonderful little thing called stress. You may have heard of it. I think that a lot of us are dealing with it all the time. Stress impacts people's bodies in multiple ways, and there are indeed linkages between psychological stress and skin aging. There does need to be more fundamental research done into finding actual cures for this stress link, but we're not at that point yet, but there has been some research done in this area. 62.9% of both healthcare professionals agree that psychological stress has a significant link to skin aging. Now, this study was actually funded by Johnson & Johnson, who do have a vested interest in selling people things which reverse the signs of aging, so to speak. So take that with a grain of salt. However, there was this other research article which was published, which was specifically looking at all of the studies actually done around the link between the brain and people's skin and like the effects of stress on the skin. It's called Brain-Skin Connection, Stress, Inflammation and Skin Aging, where it reviewed studies on these links. As of today, there's no proven medical treatment that can either prevent or treat stress-induced or exacerbated skin conditions or skin aging. Skin mast cells are activated by stress, and in turn they also produce stress hormones and inflammatory factors. This could lead to a vicious cycle of stress-induced inflammatory events. Stress can cause detrimental physiological and functional consequences in the skin. In some of the studies that they actually referenced, they were looking at the stress associated with things which we actually commonly face, like final exam stress, interview stress, and marital problem stress. And all of these studies showed negative effects on people's skin. How unavoidable are these situations? I mean, come on, and this isn't even taking into account people that have actually been through trauma. Like, there is so much more work that needs to be done in this area, but I do think it's important to actually highlight, like, the impacts that stress does have on multiple factors of our life. And of course, no cure has been found, because that is ultimately what these studies want to be able to find a link to, especially if they're funded by places like Johnson & Johnson, because then they can sell something for a huge amount of money. But like, what are we meant to do about it? Like, there's no real cure other than like actually getting surgery done to do a surface level thing, but that's not really addressing the root cause of it, right? Because if there was a way to, I don't know, stop stress from impacting our lives, well, I'm just lost in a dream about how wonderful that would be to not feel stressed every single day. Must be nice. Must also be nice to be people like Martha Stewart, who I'm sure can afford to be able to be 81 and be on the cover of Sports Illustrated magazine looking as amazing as she does, not at all through any plastic surgery, wink wink. Like, come on, like, if you are a multimillionaire, pretty sure the stresses that you're facing aren't quite the same level of stress that the rest of us are facing.
Because people put a value on prettiness and beauty. So if you don't have it, it's like, I have no value. What, no one wants to love me? No one will accept me? I have no power? When you say that to other women, they don't feel there's anything in their life that has any value. You've stripped them from everything.
Let's get on to my final thoughts here, because look, things like stress are only going to increase as time goes on, and there are so many varying factors which actually do impact the way that our skin ages, impact our health, impact so many things. Like, it depends on where you're born, it depends on what sort of family you're born into, what sort of wealth you have access to. It depends on the air pollution that you are subjected to every day. It depends on where in the world you're actually born and where you live. It depends on your sun exposure and like those sorts of stresses in life, not to mention the cost of living crisis, and if you grew up in poverty or something. Like, all of these factors, people can't actually easily control themselves, right? And with the climate crisis actually here, I told you I'm always going to be bringing it up, our stress levels are only going to be increasing as the world gets worse, because global leaders keep on refusing to actually stop big oil and like refuse to actually intervene when it comes to companies just creating like a single line of product to trash, with a lot of things just going straight to trash. What I'm encouraging everybody to do is to push back when people are actually bringing up these sorts of ageist comments when it comes to the festive season. Not just if they impact yourself, like say if you're a younger person, you're not really getting any of this, don't worry, there will be plenty of videos in this series which will apply to you. When it comes to you hear them say this about someone else in the same room, just question why. Why exactly is that they think that is an okay thing to say? If our worth is only wrapped up in what seems to be a lack of life experience, what is that message really saying? Whilst I've brought it up on this channel many times before, in case you're new here, I think that it's really good to actually veer away from physical compliments of people. Now, there is a difference between saying to someone, oh, that colour really suits you, or oh, I really like the way you've done your makeup today or something, because I'm always amenable to those sorts of compliments, but like those are two things which are like really easily changed, because I just wash my makeup off at the end of every day. You can change your clothes very easily, but when it comes to all of that other stuff that we talked about before, people do not really have control over this stuff, and those impacts absolutely do show up on people's skin. And it's like, and if you are actually tempted to ask someone, oh, you look tired, are you tired? If your actual intention is to show concern for them, instead I encourage you to just ask like, what's going on in their life, you know, like actually ask them questions about like their life, if work is going okay, if home's going okay, because you know what, there's probably something that they're actually dealing with. There may be something to do with their health that they're dealing with. There are so many things that people are dealing with in private that none of us really know about unless we actually have, I don't know, a conversation about it. So please, if you are about to say the words, like you can feel the bubble forming of like this sentence of, you look tired, I'm encouraging you to not say that and instead be like, why do I want to say this? Oh, I'm concerned about my friend, family member, whoever. Maybe there's something I can do to help them. If you're actually approaching things from that way, you wouldn't be just saying that comment, you'd be saying like, hey, how's things going? Like, let's go over to the corner, have a chat, have a drink and a chat, have a mince pie and a chat. I don't know, whatever. Like, actually just having a chat with someone instead of just being like, you look tired, and then they feel worse about themselves the rest of the day. In order to maintain the facade of youth, it actually requires an awful lot of investment. It requires people to body check, and if they've dealt with an ED or something, then this is actually possibly a trigger for them to make that a hell of a lot worse. And like, there's the ongoing upkeep of like having to constantly dye your hair to pretend that your hair's not going grey. Also, I am so here for the fact that I've seen, like, I know some people who are actually embracing going grey, and I'm like, I'm so happy to see it. Honestly, I call any grey hairs like strands of glitter, because that's how I personally see it. I don't think it's like a bad thing. Like, hell, if people want to dye their hair pink, like what I'm gonna be doing if I'm lucky enough to get older, I'm here for it, you know what I mean? But like, I don't think that we should be shaming people if they're like, I'm actually just gonna stop dyeing my hair, I'm gonna stop doing this stuff which has been like costing me heaps of money, making me feel more insecure. It's like just embracing aging naturally, because you know what does age naturally every single year? Trees. And you know when leaves are the most beautiful? When they're orange and they fall from the tree. So I'm just gonna be embracing that sort of stuff. And honestly, if you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. It actually really does make a huge difference to the YouTube algorithm if people watch the end. So thank you. And if you did, please leave some fall autumnal leaves in the emojis. And I really do hope that this gave you a little bit of hope, a little bit of like gumption. That's what I want to, my gift to people at Christmas time this year is gumption. That's what I want to give. So that's what this series is about. Thank you lovelies again so much for watching, and I hope to see you next week if I'm able to actually churn out these videos fast enough. Bye.